What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Of course, I am Tim Geddes. I am joined by the Big Daddy himself, Greg Miller.
What's up, Tim?
And the Nitro
I said, what's up, Tim?
So much is up, Greg. So much is up. I didn't expect that. There was a volume there. There was like a pitch that was hit. There's a ringing in the air. Do you hear it? Nitro Rifle Andy Cortez.
He didn't even have a Coke.
No Coke?
No Coke today. No Cokes, but some beefs will be settled.
Some beefs will be settled. Yes, there will be blood.
I have some beefs to settle with this fucking show.
The whole company, actually.
This whole company.
And he's been talking shit all day.
I mean, should I get to it now? Or we just wait.
Get to it now. What do we got the beef with?
Y'all play this game called Dragon's Dogma 2? Anybody? Anybody here?
Too busy playing Rise of the Ronin.
Anybody here? Play a game called Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think it was last week. We talked about it.
Which
Greg,
could mark the downfall of the fucking company when Greg Miller walked up to me and said, Andy, I think Bless is going to drop off of Rise of the Ronin. Can you keep playing Rise of the Ronin and not go to Dragon's Dogma 2? And I said, sure, Greg. Whatever helps out the company. And little did I know that I'd be stuck with the most fucking boring video game mediocre shit of all time. Meanwhile, everybody said, let's go Dragon's Dogma 2. Let's go play Dragon's Dogma 2. And then tried it out for maybe 2 hours and said, it's just not for me. It's not what I want right now. And little did you all know that you have been missing out on the fantasy epic of the goddamn century. This game is fantastic. This game is marvelous, Tim. Holy shit. You all don't even know, man. Play the video game, Greg.
Yeah, boring to boring. It's moment to moment, boring to boring.
And you're
so
full of
boring to boring. It's boring to boring, Andy.
Oh, there's a goblin over here. All right. Meanwhile, Rise of the Ronin, I'm dressed in this business suit. I'm choking motherfuckers out with his grappling hook. I'm petting cats left and right.
I didn't even mean to get mad at Rise of the Ronin. I don't hate Rise of the Ronin. It's just like I would have much rather have played Dragon's Dogma 2 because once I was able to sink my teeth into it, we did the Rise of the Ronin review, and I said, I'm good. I put in 20 hours. I'm good with this experience. There's nothing there that's like bringing me in to do more, to play more of it. So I started Dragon's Dogma 2, and this is already, the internet's already been talking about it. So I'm like, we'll see if it lives up to what everybody on the internet's saying. Everybody's mad about microtransactions. You should be mad about the frame rate because, like, you know, it's an RE engine game, and we know that Capcom is not great at making their games like run great. And sometimes there's like going to be frame rate issues. Sometimes reflections going to look like dog shit. But it's still an RE engine game, and it's Capcom. And I know that whenever I'm not in towns, the game's going to run better. And the game is fantastic. It's one of the most like alive feeling games I've ever felt. It feels so dynamic. You have a lot more to say about Dragon's Dogma. We'll save that for. I thought you were just gonna bring up your beef in the beginning. Okay, we have a new game to talk about, Andy. This fucking company.
We already heard people's thoughts on Dragon's Dogma.
This goddamn company. I read the comments. I was like, wow, everybody's mad about in the comments.
You should have been there for the review, Andy.
Surely they shouldn't. They're not. Why wasn't I here for the review?
I think you did Rise of the Ronin.
You were playing Rise of the Ronin.
You're too busy playing that.
I was like ready to sit down on the fucking desk. It's like, oh, I'm not on this. All right. I'll go play Rise of the Ronin. Let me go pet a cat for the 18th time and get 6 XP and fucking have 0.2 more stamina. Like, this fucking game, dude.
He's leaving out that this increases your bond, though, for the district, and you can get better prices from the black market. You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
Are you going a pro-Shogun or anti-Shogun?
I was anti-Shogun. Yeah. I'm against the establishment, too.
We'll talk more about Dragon's Dogma, and I'm sure Rise of the Ronin, because Greg will insist sometime later in the show. But this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Where each and every week, we get to talk about video games, all the things we love about them, all the things that are mediocre about them, and everything in between. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you have the Kind of Funny membership, you're supporting us at the greatest tier possible.
Hey!
That reaches very, very nicely into
You're the
our
greatest
hearts.
generation.
You are the greatest generation. You get the shows ad-free.
You're supporting people, you know?
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a tagline in something.
Listen, I get it. My grandfather fought in World War II, but did he ever support me on Patreon or YouTube? No, he didn't.
You're right.
He's right, everybody. You can be better than Greg's
that
grandpa.
Purple Heart, sell it at the thrift store. Take that money. Kind of Funny membership.
Did he die in the war?
No, Purple Heart's when you get wounded.
What happens when you die in the war? Blue Heart?
I mean, usually you die, and then they bring your casket back. You ever see Pearl Harbor?
Oh man,
she was in love with both of them.
That's that.
With the war settled, who will
Ad
come
Final
free,
free?
and
Fantasy
you also
7.
get a
Final
daily
Fantasy 7.
exclusive show. Thank you very much to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Kieran Hova-Sapien, and Delaney Twining. You allow all these shenanigans to continue happening. But like I was saying, this is the Gamescast. We're talking about video games. Andy was already talking about some beefs, but I had to stop him because we got to get new, fresh thoughts on a new, fresh game, Stellar Blade. Andy Cortez, I do want you to start this one off, even though Greg did play as well.
I played the entire demo, everybody. No big deal.
Here, how about you? No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Get Greg's thoughts
So then
I can
correct
write the
him.
record.
Okay, let's
Sure.
do that. Let's do that. Greg Miller, you've played the demo of Stellar Blade. What did you think?
Come on in, Barrett. Try and crop him out. Come on in, Barrett. Thank you, buddy. Listen, this is what you would at surface level look at and go, not going to be a Greg game. But PlayStation sent us the demos for review. Thank you so much, PlayStation. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump in there and I'll see what this is all about. And I'll just say this. Y'all are weird. You know what I mean? Like this is what you'd play. This is what you'd enjoy. There are great visual novels out there you could be playing. Walking simulators you could be playing. Rise of the Ronin.
Not this silly, Greg.
It's definitively not a Greg game, but it is beautiful. I can see the action people really enjoying and stuff like that. But I'm not that action guy. I'm not that Bayonetta guy. I'm not that. I would even go as far as what what
Devil May
usually sort of
Cry
platinum,
almost?
right? Platinum
Yeah.
games and stuff like that. Like that just isn't my jam. And so like I think the quality is incredibly high, but for me the fun wasn't in terms of just like okay, like. I don't like this parry as much as I'm enjoying it in other games that'll remain nameless at this moment. You know, I don't enjoy this sword play as much as I'm enjoying other games.
There's just not enough of them.
I don't enjoy that I can be against a shogunate. I won't mention one name.
Oh, we're having too much fun today. But yeah, like in general, it's just like, okay, like this is like traditional Japanese action game that I would be like, I usually wouldn't turn my head. This one I wanted to be part of the conversation. And I also always want to give things a shot, right? Like I love being caught off guard, but it was like, I see what's going on and I don't think I'll be returning to this one.
I'm going to say, before I give my thoughts, this is something, Tim needs to play this demo.
Yeah, I wanted to. I just didn't have time.
This is very much up your alley, Tim.
Also, really quick, I did see in this trailer that came out a couple of months ago, one of the side quests, find the cat, Greg.
Oh, shit.
All right, you're winning me back. You're winning me back, all right?
Find the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Go against the shogunate. Rise against it. This is going to be like my Eliza P of this year. I
okay.
really, really enjoyed my time with this. It has a lot of Nier Automata vibes in terms of like the setting and this sort of desolate world and having your little robot companion always kind of floating with you, which I really love because in a lot of moments the game is extremely gorgeous and the robot buddy also casts light, and that light casts a shadow. So sometimes enemies are being lit in a cool way, like in a dark room.
I was appreciative of their ping system too, where you ping and it sends the blurb out through the entire
You get that full
world,
scan.
and then you're seeing like, oh, there's credits over there and there's things over there. And then the same thing with the getting off the beaten path. There was a few different ways of like, go this way and we'll go the other way. Oh, here's this whole jungle gym of things I need to swing on to get to in a bigger sense of exploring that world. I'd love to see.
How long was the demo?
About
An hour.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's very much super flashy, super over the top action, but it's very much still like Liza P combat, I would say. Not quite Sekiro, but you are going to be trying to either dodge away from attacks or parrying attacks at the right time to then build up that stagger meter on the enemy and then go in for that big killer hit or whatever. But the ability, it's not like you want to be a bit more stylish and over the top, just how the action is with your with the combat as well, because you have a lot of abilities that lend itself to you're not just kind of waiting for the attack and then going in for your hit and then standing back. It's not that methodical. It looks a lot flashier, like a Devil May Cry type game where the moves that you have are super cool looking. They're artfully really well done. The world is super interesting, but again, it all comes down to the combat being fun and noticing that enemy always has a sort of 3-hit combo, and these enemies are also disgusting but really kind of neat looking as well. And
that Starro one they got, right? Like the flying starfish, I thought was really cool and also disturbing.
Parry at the right time to then go and follow up with that, attack whenever you get to your bonfires. The bonfire is meant to be your place to
Just a lawn
get
chair,
your
vending
heals
machine.
back, and then you can go to a little vending machine to buy items or look at your skill set and maybe get a new ability on the skill tree. And I think the demo does a great job of kind of tutorializing that and letting you know, hey, go for this move next, because this move, if you do a perfect dodge, then you can follow up with like an extra cool special move or whatever.
Yeah, Blink was one that I was enjoying. It was, recommended obviously by the demo or whatever, but, do the perfect dodge and then you could warp behind them, get the shots on their back. I like that.
And it's just, get them back shots going, essentially. It's just gorgeous. It has a great sense of action. It has a great sense of scale as well with a lot of these enemies and exploration. I don't think there's like anything it's doing incredibly amazing when it comes to level design and things like that, but it's got your standard sort of, hey, this door's locked. That's probably going to be a shortcut later. Sure enough,
you've got the memory stick off this guy, so you have a passcode for the next door you come to.
Yeah, and even I even enjoyed like finding little random treasure chests, but it's locked by a code. Where haven't I been that I haven't necessarily explored? Oh, this dude had a little code on it. Let me go back to that little treasure chest.
And I think that would be one of my knocks against it, is that I liked all this stuff, but I didn't find it in abundance of it. I felt, and granted, it's a demo, right? It's an hour slice of this game, but it felt very much like, oh, you got the code. Okay, there's the door. It's like, I'd rather it be, I think it's something like Stray, where I would find a code on the wall, or I'd find something that was locked and not know, and like way later in the world find it, like, oh, this is for that thing way back there.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I didn't get that vibe. One of my knocks against games of this ilk that I have tried, again, I'm not invested all the way in, is that I often feel like, oh, it's a beautiful world, but it doesn't feel, not real because that's exaggerated, right? But it doesn't feel like this, A is here for B. It's not A is here for me to get to Z with it or get to Y with it or get some other weird way with it. It's very much like this, then that.
It's a bit more scripted, yeah.
Yeah.
A bit more design in that
A little
sense.
stiffer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I would like to call out again is not being the action guy was the cinematography in the very beginning and stuff. I thought they did a really great job of, you're in this giant ship, you all have to evac because you're getting your asses whooped. You land, you come out of it, then it's all like somewhat sexy, sexual or whatever. You getting pulled out of this thing and the things be thanging. And then it's like, okay, cool, this is happening. But
Things
then it was
be
like,
jiggling, too.
when you're
Things be
in
jiggling.
like this boss
Scene.
fight with your friend or whatever, and like you come up and you're like, or like slows down. It's like Matrixy kind of, not Matrix, but like action movie slow down as you're doing the really cool shit. So I can see Blessing sitting there with his mic on. No, oh shit, like like Blessing always does.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Blessing did write into me on Slack.com, just like you can, and says, since I'll be out during the Stellar Blade preview, can you please read my written preview on the show? It goes as follows: extremely my shit. Blessing idea.
Well, there we go.
The little robot guy you have with you is not like Nier Automata where it like shoots
It's not a
out or
weapon.
anything. It just kind of just helps you out and lets you.
More like a
Give-
Navi.
Yeah, it kind of gives you hints. It's essentially your homie Adam who's back in the ship and he's controlling this little robot and it's kind of like his drone. Kind of reminds you of the. It reminded me of the flying version. Like if the legs in the back of the little robot, Greg, kind of like came down, it would look like the MK robot in Metal Gear Solid Guns of the Patriots.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Blessing. I think this is also extremely my shit, especially it's like the more flashy, stylish version of what Lies of P or a lot of Souls-like are.
So I'm interested here because like I didn't get the Souls vibes from it at all until you comparing it to Lies of P and then bringing up bonfires and things like that. Because like looking at it and everything I've heard, Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, those things come up. But watching the gameplay, even it's like, oh, Devil May Cry and Bayonetta to an extent, way more combo based of like how long can you keep your combo going, how stylish can you be, whereas Lies of P, a little more action based than it seems like some of the Souls games can be, but it is still very far from that like stylish combo. Where does this fall closer to Lies of P?
This is closer to Lies of P. To me, it's Lies of P with a like Devil May Cry Bayonetta sort of like candy coating on it.
Okay.
Like you still have to be very thoughtful with your attacks. You can't just go in there and button mash, and hope to kill the dude before they kill you because they're going to attack and their stagger meter may not be broken and they're going to hurt you pretty hard and it might take away half your health and you're going to have to back away and go, oh shit, I have to kind of rethink how I'm going about this little combat encounter. But when I bring up the flashiness of those games like Bayonetta and like Devil May Cry, it all comes down to the special additive abilities because it's with Lies of P you had like, or even like an Elder Ring, you have like your weapon art or whatever, and that's always like sure, you can slash with a light attack, or you could do a heavier attack that's charged, or you can do your special move when that little meter builds up or whatever. And here you have 4 separate things that you can add on to your weapon arts. And they vary from not just a lot of different moves that are super flashy and fast and cool looking. They're going to really pack a punch against this enemy, but one of them may be more designed to break the shield of the enemy and break the stance as opposed to do damage, you know? So there's going to be some strategy going in there. We didn't get to experience that a whole lot because when you beat the demo, you're then offered the chance to do a boss rush sort of thing. But it's mainly just like, hey, you know that boss that you fought at the end of the demo? Now you get to fight him in a new area, but you have a much more of your kit sort of available to you. And it's like clearly a much higher level version of you that you were playing.
Did you pop into that?
I did, yeah. And a lot more availability of moves there, a lot cooler looking shit. Like this game just gets more and more slick as you keep on unlocking these extra moves, because when you are able to sort of combo together these moves, when you see the enemy about to attack you and it's like flashing blue and you know, oh, that means I want to dodge this because I can't necessarily parry this move or whatever, and then you flash through them and you're behind them for the backstab and you hit them with the backstab, then you can also combo together with one of your other like weapon arts, your specialized moves. That's where the game starts to get really over the top, and that's where you get into those really stylish like slow-mo segments where suddenly it's a cutscene and she's stabbing the dude in the chest and then like moving the sword up, and it's all awesome. And it's always accompanied by some, and it's like the beginning part, some like lady is singing in the music. It's like, oh, they got like vocals on this track. Interesting.
Really great HUD too. Like
great HUD.
I liked your health, your enemy's health. Barrett showed it earlier in some of the stuff there. Like when you came up against the first, not boss, but bigger enemy, and it had it up there and it was like in white dots and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. I don't know. It's got their minds are in the right spot of like making the world interesting and making the boss fights fun rather than like maybe going for a purely difficult crushing experience, because it's still difficult in some spots. Like it's not like you're going to completely breeze through the demo. There will be moments where you have to notice that this enemy is doing certain attacks, and you could probably be smarter than I was when I played Lies of P and preferred the parry combat. And when those 3 swings are coming and it's punch, punch, wait for it, punch. And then you go, oh shit, I can memorize that little attack. And whenever that thing flashes, it's going to come at me with that sort of combo or whatever. You can try to parry, or you could dodge and just be a little bit smarter about it. But I prefer the more punishing, difficult style of parrying. Greg, which were you kind of leaning towards?
I'm a dodge boy.
Okay.
I like dodging. And so I felt in the beginning dodging felt sluggish, and then when they started teaching you perfect dodge, I was like, oh, okay, here's where it can start opening up, let alone the skill tree when you start investigating what can happen if you perfect dodge and go on this way. I was like, okay, I can see where this is going to open up more to get to where I wanted to be. I think more than anything, what I found interesting was played through the whole thing, didn't find it difficult. I didn't find it easy either, but I mean, like, you know, I'm not the Souls guy. I don't want to be punished. I don't want to be there. Again, you know, 15, 20 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, this isn't a Greg game, but I want to see it all the way through for the discussion. Got to that final boss, did the classic, got him down to like a little bit of health, and he got me. And I was like, damn it. And I'm like, well, I put it onto story mode just because. And I was impressed that when you drop it for story mode, then it showed me like it like slows down of like, okay, here's where you should be dodging, here's where you should be blocking. Cool. And like I was blocking like I do block in another samurai game that I won't talk about, which is just hold it, right? And that I didn't realize in this one it was like they wanted me to block every time they swing at me differently. And I was like, oh, well, that's why I could have easily beaten the boss if I knew that. So like I learned something from that, which I thought was interesting. Turned off story mode, came back, got the guy. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a helpful almost in-game tutorial. Or if you wanted to play it the other way, it kind of felt like a quick time event where it was like the button pops up and like there's a cooldown circle around it where I could still screw it up and die, but it was like, if you want it to be easy, we'll do it this way, but if you want to learn too, it's a great way to learn.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I didn't know they were going to do that. The demo doesn't let you remap buttons, unfortunately, but it does have like some other really neat options of making the subtitles bigger, adding the color for the speaker. I really enjoy when subtitle options are offered there. And also in the gameplay menu of the settings, because there's like sound and visuals and all that. And under gameplay, you get to decide whether you want a long ponytail or a short ponytail.
Oh,
the important things.
Very
Yeah.
important.
And so whenever you do the boss rush mode,
They're grabbing at the ponytails too short.
because I didn't notice that like how cool the hair physics are when you whip around, they'll like completely whip around you, and her hair's down to like her ankles.
Oh shit!
And like the hair
Real
will just
long
kind of
pony.
like slowly be moving, and if you move, like it just looks really kind of cool and impressive. And Tim, did you know that a fun fact? This character Eve, her sword is like in her head. It's really weird. It looks like a bow. It looks like part of like
Interesting.
a bow coming out of her hair. But then when you bust the sword out, or like when you put the sword back, she brings it back, and it looks like she's just kind of like disappearing. But then the hair piece is like her sword. It's very, very
I
odd.
didn't notice this. This is
It's like Bayonetta, who like wears a demon, and she fights with it, and then
No
she's all
way.
naked.
Does she really?
And she fights with her outfit and her hair sometimes.
Oh, gotcha.
There's all
Okay.
shit going on.
Also, there's just like
So you're saying the thing tying her hair together is the
yeah,
the sword?
those metal pieces kind of going down. It's fascinating. I will say like, I think the hot topic is like the jiggle physics, right? Very, very like overly sexy game. It doesn't make sense gravity wise, like how this suit looks with the amount of jiggle there is. It's like I think they'd be more constrained in that.
Jiggle aside, because obviously it's like incredibly over the top,
Yeah.
like to the point that I've said this now multiple times, but like I don't like the look of the game because of how just jiggly it all is, where I'm just like, and if you like that stuff, that's totally cool. There's no judgment from me. It's more, there's a line that it crosses where I'm just like, this just feels icky and weird. Is the vibe of it icky and weird though, or is it just things jiggle more than they should?
No, I don't think the vibe
Okay.
is
Cool.
icky and weird. I will say though, like in this demo, and again, this is mainly like recency sort of stuff because I just finished playing a game for about 20 hours that I will not mention here.
Damn, Riz.
But where in the beginning of that game that we were talking about a little earlier, Greg, like in this demo, they kind of hit you with some cutscenes that were like, whoa, that was kind of shocking emotionally. I wasn't necessarily expecting to kind of react in that way. And I was like, man, Rise of the Ronin kind of did something similar right at the beginning of the game that like I just didn't feel anything from. And maybe that was just like maybe that's a look of the game. Maybe because this game looks,
they weren't naked.
maybe there wasn't any jiggling. Yeah. But I do think that like this game is so presentationally high caliber that it's something that you should at least check out if you have a PS5 and want to download the demo, because it's a really, really pretty game. And there's also 3 different visual modes that I'm not sure exactly.
Balanced performance, and then the other one, fidelity.
And
They call it fidelity, right?
yeah, and so the thing I'm wondering with balance is like I felt like I was getting a consistent 60 frames at around maybe 1200 or 1440p. And then the 30
great.
frames mode was probably your 4K upres or whatever it is. But performance, I'm wondering, is that 120 frames per second?
No
Oh.
way. You think so?
Dang,
don't know.
for this type of game, that would be very impressive.
It would be insanely impressive, but like, why would they? Unless it's like, hey, you're getting a
locked 60.
you're getting a locked 60 as opposed to a game that might dip into the 50s or whatever. But even on the balanced mode, which I recommend playing on because I didn't experience any sort of frame rate issues.
That's great.
Even if it was like, hey, you're not getting a guaranteed 60 here, it still felt super fluid and awesome. Yeah, I think this is a demo that everybody should check out. I think
Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday. There's a lot of moments where it reminds me of doing our Lies of P review, where it's like, oh, they went to like the school of FromSoft, where enemies are just kind of gonna blindside you at some moments.
Sure.
Just
Sure,
really
sure,
freak
sure,
you out.
sure.
It's like, God damn it, now I gotta look around every wall and just be careful about my surroundings. But so far, super impressed with this. Like it's always tough for a developer to try to emulate that experience and make you feel the way a Souls game might make you feel. But in this sense, it's doing stuff that I think that like Souls games don't, which is like, hey, we're not gonna. Obviously, From Software makes things look really, really like masterfully cool and like, oh wow, how awesome is this cutscene and this big dragon or whatever. The grandiose nature of how they sort of implement their boss encounters. Here it was more of like the hype. I felt like I was playing Astral Chain or Scarlet Nexus with like the awesome music sort of backing this moment, everything feeling like super futuristic. It's a good vibe. I really, really dug it.
Do you see yourself playing through the full game when it comes out?
100%.
Do you see it potentially being
a contender? It's possible because with that, early on I thought it was like okay for what it was going for. Like there was nothing like super amazingly impressive where I was like, holy shit, everybody needs to play this. It wasn't until that first boss encounter,
near the end of the demo.
At the end of the demo, that
he had a cool design,
really cool design, but also it was just like it was a cacophony of like action and music and visuals and everything just sort of hitting at the right moment that felt awesome. And when I beat that boss, I was like, if every other boss can live up to this sort of vibes, similar like Final Fantasy 16, not the same sort of like level of scale or whatever, but if I can feel this way with every boss fight, then like this is a winner. I'm gonna feel really, really happy about this at the end of the year.
I can't believe we're getting more Final Fantasy 16 boss fights in a couple of weeks,
Holy
Andy.
shit.
Holy shit. What are you about to say?
One thing I want to call out that I missed, I forget if I called this Japanese action game or said that I don't usually vibe with Japanese action games.
Korean.
It's worth pointing out that this is a Korean studio, Shift Up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And really fascinating sort of, I think they were like, hey, there's a lot of mobile games, and this is like one of our first kind of like attempt at a console game. Like usually Korea is like very mobile heavy in terms of like the amount of offerings out there. So we really hope you enjoy this. And I was like, wow, y'all
Big swing.
Kicked ass here. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Good for them. So that is Stellar Blade. You can get the demo on Friday. We're going to go back to Andy, settle in some beefs that he has with the company of Kind of Funny right after a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses brand that has over 300,000 5-star reviews. They are on a mission to match affordability with durability, making top quality shades accessible to everyone. They have tons of styles and colors to pick from, so finding the perfect polarized shades is a breeze. If you want an upgrade, we recommend their premium Color Rush lenses. Crafted with rare earth materials, these lenses bring high impact color to life, elevating reds, blues, and greens. Here at Kinda Funny, we all love wearing our Shady Rays, whether it is Tim looking dope doing his Pokemon Go walks, Snow Mike rocking the snow goggles, or Joey just looking fantastic in her tangle-free shades. If your shades go MIA or take a hit, don't sweat it, they've got lost and broken protection, so you're covered from day one. And if you don't love your shades, exchange them or return them for free within 30 days. Exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code KF20 for $20 off each pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, that is shadyrays.com and use code KF20 for $20 off polarized sunglasses.
Yeah, so Greg and I had our one-on-one meeting in which a lot of these beefs were called out. And, you know, Greg always asks, like, do you have any issues with anybody at the company? I said, yeah, every one of you.
Always.
Yeah, everybody on the Gamescast.
We're sitting on that Gamescast and just frankly embarrassing all of us. Nah, man, Dragon's Dogma 2 kicks so much ass, man.
How far are you in right now? Hours wise,
probably about 12 or something like that.
Okay.
But I keep on catching myself ending a stream, and then I just keep playing for 2, 3, 4 more hours at some moments. Yeah, man, this game is just like it feels so alive. It reminds me of what I love that Monster Hunter does, which is just sometimes happening upon 2 massive creatures fighting each other.
Yeah.
And little moments like that just make the world feel alive and not scripted, you know, kind of just walking along to do this side quest to go deliver something. And then a goddamn massive griffin eagle just pounces my ass out of nowhere and just catches me off guard, terrified. And then random other NPCs just kind of walking the trail like, oh shit, let's go fight with that guy, you know? This game is kind of like, it's like it's a fantasy, like it's the fantasy, if that makes sense. You know, like this is what you hope for whenever you're playing. Like this is what I hope the next iteration of Witcher kind of like aspires to these levels of like impromptu moments that really
I was gonna say that was the
guard.
vibe as early as I was with it that I could see that they were going for. Was what I think most people loved about The Witcher 3 was wandering around, finding these adventures that weren't even the main quest, but felt like they were. They had much love given to them.
Yeah, I'm just really digging the structure of it. I'm digging the open-endedness of it. I do want to read a tweet from our good friend Michael Huber. Easy Allies, because he tweeted about Dragon's Dogma. And it says, Dragon's Dogma allows me to really take my time and appreciate the journey. No fast travel helps contribute to not worrying about warping everywhere to do endless side quests
Unless you buy it.
in autopilot. Unless you buy it. He didn't say that. I'm always present, only worrying about what's in front of me. And that reminds me so much of my experience with Elden Ring. I'm in there. I'm immersed. I am traveling to the next spot, and whatever happens in front of me is like the thing that I'm now going to be concentrating on. I want to help that NPC. I want to recruit that next new dude that's walking down the road that looks awesome as shit. And turns out the current warrior with me is like lower level. So see you later, warrior. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your service. Here's an apple on the way out. You can give him a little gift, Tim, whenever you kick him out of your party. I just love the system of it. You create your main pawn, and my main pawn is Rebecca Ferguson, and she's my ride or die. She's my mage.
Does she have the eye patch?
She does not have the eye patch, but I gave her like kind of like black paint across her eyes. She just looks sick as shit.
Always
Sick.
cool.
She just looks sick as shit, dude. But it's just really, really neat in terms of like how the systems work. Bringing in other people's pawns from your friends list, seeing what other people are playing. Like, it's really neat that on our stream yesterday where I created Nick Scarpino and Kevin Coelho as
I love it.
Nick's pawn on Mike's playthrough, I can then open up my friends list and see, I can recruit Kevin to my squad. And you can set your pawn out on quests that like, hey, recruit my pawn and you'll get this gift because then they'll help me level up or whatever. Like, it's such a cool Strand game in that way that it feels like such a neat cooperative experience with everybody else on the internet. But yeah, I don't think I've played a fantasy game that feels this alive and kind of like this is the gold standard for what I think a lot of fantasy games should strive for in terms of like simulation and feeling real and lived in. Performance mode isn't great, performance isn't great, period. I have a very, very beefy computer, and in cities, I'm barely getting 60 frames per second, and so that sucks. But outside of cities, things are rocking. So it's definitely, it could use some engineering on that side of things. I know Capcom's kind of addressed that already. And that's just part of game development nowadays, You'll hopefully get the fully finished product 6 months after,
What's your gameplay style like? Are you going in there?
I'm a thief.
Fighter?
So okay. I selected Thief, which is a dual dagger sort of approach, and which is great because I love being able to then recruit a big warrior type guy to like kind of be the tank of the party, and hopefully it's somebody cool that gathers a lot of aggro from the enemies, and I can go in there and like just sort of. The thing about the Thief is the Thief has a built-in dash. Okay. That's part of like the fighting kit. So I love being able to know when that big attack is coming. I have enough stamina for this. Let me get behind the enemy and maybe go in for some backstabs. But a part of that kit, and a part of like the whole gameplay in general for what melee combat feels like. I was very worried at first because I'm like, this isn't a Souls-like. This doesn't control like a Souls game. I don't know if I'm gonna like fully dig this. Do I want this experience? And after playing a decent amount of it, this game has like revitalized my hope that games cannot go for that direction and still feel good combat wise. Like I've always been worried that when first person shooters or when we would play Halo back in the day, and then you started getting more and more games that would implement the sprint button, and you're like, first person shooters without sprint are going to feel really bad from here on out. Yeah. So you need to have a sprint in there, right? And I was kind of worrying that with my melee combat, if it doesn't feel like a Souls-like, is my brain just too broken that I'm like,
this ain't it.
This isn't it. If I don't have that parry, if I don't have a dodge roll, I had those feelings with Tears of the Kingdom where I'm like, man, if I just had a normal dodge roll, this game could be perfect. And this game has kind of like revitalized my hope that not only is my brain not broken, but also it's possible to make combat super fun and engaging without having to only be that style of a game, right? Initially, I was like, well, if the combat's not going to feel like a Souls game, I'll probably go Archer so I can use keyboard, mouse, and like aim to like shoot. And I decided, you know what? With Dragon Age Inquisition, that was like one of the last sort of like medieval games that I played that I was like, I really dug the dual wielding daggers. Sure. Let me go for that vibe here.
Sure.
And it is like so far and away surpassing my expectations of what feels good in combat, and I love igniting my knives on fire, hacking and slashing, climbing the dude. I have a rope that kind of like it's like a what's the word, like a grapple, not necessarily grapple, but I can like throw it at an enemy's leg.
Scorpion, yeah.
A what?
Scorpion?
Scorpions?
Kind of,
over
yeah,
your
exactly, yeah. And
Kunai.
sometimes you might get a big enemy like groggy in a sense when you beat them up enough, and you can like fucking grapple Scorpion their leg and pull their leg out from under them, and it'll knock them off balance and they hit the ground. All of that, I think the reason why the game doesn't run so great is because its physics system is way
Intense.
deeper than I
on.
really expected. So it's super like CPU heavy. But because of that, I can, you can just jump on that eagle and kind of it'll just fly. And you're just like stuck here now. Holy shit. I hope I survive this journey, right? Being able to just like roll gigantic boulders into like these little goblin camps or whatever. The game is just it's way more dynamic than I would have ever assumed. I thought it was going to be a lot more like just surface level type fantasy, but they're clearly striving for a lot more than that, which I find super impressive and I find super engaging. It's kind of like exactly what I was hoping it would be. It's a very, very good video game, and it's like gonna easily be a contender for sure.
Hell yeah! So how much more do you see yourself playing this? Do you see yourself seeing it to the end?
I want to beat it. Yeah, like wow. I love the vibes of it so far. This system that's sort of started plaguing some people with a system called the Dragon's Plague, where if you encounter a dragon
in Dragon's Dogma,
your NPCs may start to get sick if you fight it, or if you go to your Rift Stone where you then recruit other players' pawns to like join your party, they may be sick with Dragon's Plague and you don't know it yet.
Spread it, yeah.
And you start knowing that they're sick, their eyes will slowly turn red and they'll start like not obeying your commands anymore. And they might be acting out and you're like, what the fuck's up with my NPC? Like, why aren't you not, I'm telling you, go forth or come back and fall back and you're not paying attention to what I'm doing. And it's likely that they may be sick with the Dragon's Plague. And you normally want to get those NPCs out of your party quickly. Kill them, throw them off a cliff, do whatever you got to do. But some players have discovered recently that they didn't know that was a system. And kept on playing, wiped out the whole fucking like main village. Every NPC
Everyone's
dead.
plagued?
Every NPC dead.
Oh,
any
shit.
quest giver, any shopkeeper, everyone died of this disease. And they're like, what do I do?
That's awesome.
And like, it's such a hardcore mechanic, and it's such a player-unfriendly mechanic, but I love it. I love that there's that opportunity that can happen if you don't... Because whenever you walk out of this little like rift area, your NPCs will often say... They've already said it like 3 times for me in the last 12 hours or whatever, like,
I feel sick.
have you heard of Dragon's Plague?
Yeah.
It's this thing that'll happen if... You better watch out and make sure like us pawns, like, if they start not obeying, and you'll hear the other pawns be like, oh shit, really? I didn't know that. And like in that way, that just feels super alive and dynamic
that's awesome,
that these NPCs are talking. But a player had to like spend the next 7 hours reversing this plague and getting a rift stone to then like resurrect everybody, which is still possible, but it's a pain in the ass. I don't know. I love it. I think it's like such a neat, shitty mechanic that's awesome that like really changes the whole game, you know? But you gotta listen for the signs. They were telling you the whole time. You just maybe weren't necessarily noticing in that moment. So it's been circulating more on Twitter of like, hey, here's the clip of me just tossing all my pawns off a cliff, and like one of them, and the last one starts running away, and it's like that motherfucker knew he was guilty, dude. Like, I just started piecing out.
That's great.
It's awesome, man. It's like I think one thing that does stink, because I feel like it's going to be very similar to an Elden Ring type story in terms of the outside hardcore gamer hearing about this through social media or hearing about like the fervor there is on the internet for how much people are enjoying it and wanting to play and it not being super player friendly. I think that's going to happen a decent amount because there is a decent amount this game does not tell you. It's not super upfront with tutorializing a whole lot of things. So that may be to the game's detriment, but I still think that like, man, if you are super into fantasy games and want to watch like a fantasy world kind of live and breathe around you, I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is like the ideal version of that experience. It's so much fun, dude.
Hell yeah.
I'm really, really enjoying it.
Any other thoughts on Dragon's Dogma?
No, I think maybe we delete the other Gamescast.
Damn.
Yeah, start over again.
Yeah. Then we delete it. It's gonna be like a 5 out of 5 for me. Like I'm
Wow.
already
Like that.
so I'm just so in love
Awesome.
with everything about it. Yeah, I'm just having a blast with it. Fucking Rise of the Ronin guy.
It's
What are you
fun.
doing? What are you doing?
Hey man, it is what it is. I'm getting cats. I'm getting landmarks. I progressed the story to that first big choice or whatever, and I'm like, cool, I'll be back, but I gotta go. I gotta go.
Wait,
get all
how
that.
many hours in?
I prefer not to say.
Oh no, really? You're playing a lot.
I'm a lot. I'm really. It's like
More than 20 hours?
I'm probably right around 20. I would think now. I haven't looked at the PlayStation front page in a while. It is such a great. And this is an interesting thing when we did the review in progress on PS I Love You, right? Where it was like you and Mike said 3, you're walking away. I was like, I think it's a 4 right now, but I forget 7 hours in, 10 hours in, whatever it was. And now it's like that thing where it's like I totally see the 3 of it, but I still am having such a great time with it. But I'm currently playing it in such a junk food way of it's me with the portal. No,
Eat your slop, piggy.
oink, 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 oink. What a great tweet. But it's me next to Jen, talking to her, watching whatever on TV with the portal, no sound on, and I'm just steamrolling. I'm not moving anything. I've made the first choice between the Shoguns or whatever, the Shogun 8 or whatever it is. And it's like, cool, I'm going to let all the story stuff settle until I've done every district and done everything. And so like, I'm just committed to that. So it'll be interesting to see once I go back to the story and run that, if that, it changes my mind, but if that is, okay, yeah, it is a 3 or it is a 4 or whatever the hell it is. Not that it matters. I mean, it's just us talking about it, but like, this is what I'm doing, right? I'm just fucking motoring around the city, dropping on my horse, stabbing people, choking them out, moving on to the next thing. I love the combat system so much. I'm still, going deep into these trees of upgrades of what I want my guy to look like and what I want her to be doing.
I'll tell you one thing that I didn't love about the skill system or about the skill tree, and I think it's kind of like overcomplicating it, is you have skill points.
Let me stop you, right? It's the fact that you have skill points that apply to everything, but then on the charm thing, you have certain charm points. So when you go high enough on a skill point, you now need charm points.
You need like, I have four skill points, but I have 1 strength point.
Yeah.
And this ability requires 2 strength points. I'm like, well, why have that at all? Like, I agree. I was really kind of annoyed. I thought that was just like, it's such a small thing, but it's.
But look at this guy with his
it's
fucking
kind of
Wolverine
annoying.
claws. You know what I mean?
Well, oh my God. Hold on.
Tall.
Okay, I
So
keep on
tall.
talking, keep filling time, because I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth more, and I'm almost caught up to where I was, and I will not spoil anything, but
Here's the fire pipe. It's just a flamethrower. They're like, here you go. I got to take a flamethrower. Why not?
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Fuck up these invading Americans.
one thing I really wanted to bring up was something that we spoke about during our review, and how when you're playing Wolong, or again, I never played the Neo games. I know they're difficult. I know people love them, and I know that like if you're a Souls game, you should at least try them out. But in those games, you're fighting like yokai, and you're fighting like big spiritual things, right? Monsters and beasts and things of that nature. But again, with this being a game that's somewhat meant to be rooted in realism, you're fighting a lot of humans, right? And we talked about. I'm about to send Barrett a link right now.
We talked about how when you run into these camps, then you fight a boss. It's just a very large person. And I brought up, is it my guy from the American consulate? I was like, he looks like Abraham Lincoln bobblehead you're fighting out there.
Yeah,
He's got 2 axes in this giant like Abe Lincoln looking head. I'm like, this is fucking cool.
Fucking cool.
Like so, like even in Wolong, they gave you like the larger than standard human would be like sort of like like an E Honda type, like a Yokozuna, larger set scale. And this dude is a brute. This guy is meant to be like this really tough enemy to take down. But it's clear that Team Ninja was like, how do we make the American version of a brute, right? Because you're also fighting Americans here. This game's about like Western influence also kind of taking over and influencing a lot of Japan in that moment. And so the link that I sent Barrett should be perfectly time coded, hopefully.
Perfectly.
But if not, it's at the 47-minute and 56-second mark. This is the American brute guy that you take on.
Paul Bunyan. You're taking on fucking Paul Bunyan.
And if you play a little bit more, you'll see a separate shot of it, Barrett, that I was just because I was look how fucking
I hate it.
Awesome.
Look
I
how
love
massive.
it.
And
I
somebody's like,
love
it looks
it.
like you, Andy. I wasn't too happy about that.
I mean,
see
his
that.
mustache is not connecting to the
Not
rest of
connected
his
to the beard.
Yeah.
Dang,
But it's just
dude.
like,
Yeah.
you know, the it's one thing to see like larger than life sort of Yokozuna E Honda type character that's like massive. But they're like, what the American guy, give him 2 axes, give him a button-down shirt, and make him 12 feet tall.
He's so tall.
This man's head is the size of like your torso. It's the
love it.
funniest fucking thing ever. This thing made me laugh so much the first time.
And that was
I
like,
saw
and
it.
that was I was telling you when when I went into the American consulate and this guy popped up to fight me, and I was just like, yeah, I love this
game
game.
kicks ass.
I love this.
This is it. This is it. This is everything I've asked for.
Yeah, Barrett, I'm sending one to assets, but it's just a video off my phone. So it's I don't know if that's easy to pull up or hard to pull up or whatever. But it's just another one of like, this is one of those things I clipped, and it's not. I clipped it, and then it's like it came back a week later or whatever, days later, and I was like, oh, this isn't as cool as I think it was, as it felt. But it's still fucking cool. I'm just like what this game experience is for me or whatever, of running around and just checking off boxes, killing all these things, watching a documentary on my phone. You know what I mean? I'm like,
hey, dog, give me a little fist pound right now. It's about to be us in Destiny 2 soon.
oh my God, come on now.
Are you ready?
My Ghostbuster stuff's all set. You know it. I'm locked in.
Because that's going to be us. I mean, it's
just-
number go higher.
I jump off the thing. I fly down. I'm like, all right, cool. Call my horse, land down. First off, I'm also dressed like
I love that you're dressed like
I'm
this.
dressed
like
like
a
I'm
Jabberwocky.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm just, oh, here's this ledge. Oh, that's where I need to go. And just fucking gone.
that's
You know what I mean?
sick,
It's like,
dude.
And then
The transition from glider to horse and off is
and you can
very,
land
very
on the
cool.
horse as we saw in one of the
So
other clips,
tight.
right? But like,
yeah,
just
if
do
you
this.
call the horse in midair, that sucker's going to, run right
But yeah, I look like
underneath you.
fucking Marty McFly. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh,
Why are you wearing that hat?
I love it.
I
Little
hate that
fedora,
costume.
my lady. You know what
Any
I mean?
of the Western suits, I'm like, get this shit out of here. I don't
love
want a
it.
suit and tie. I
Love
want
it,
like
love
a
it, love
fucking
it.
cool show.
Right now,
guess
I
it's
almost
a
sent you one.
Shogun show.
Right now, the build I have her in, I think it looks like Bloodborne. Because it's like a long
Ooh.
jacket and then like, the
Little trench coat.
Yeah, exactly. And like, then I'm just wearing a white headband. Looks dope.
I saw somebody make, which is something that I wanted to do when I was playing it, was like, I should have made the Blue Eye Samurai in this game. And because you can get the little circular glasses
Yeah.
that aren't orange, unfortunately, but still, it's pretty neat. Does this mean that you're going to watch Shogun now?
I was never like anti-Shogun, the show or whatever. It's
But you're
just,
anti-Shogunette.
shows. Yeah, exactly. It's just, shows.
What do you mean?
I'd rather play stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We were watching Poor Things, and I was like, I'm just gonna start playing. I'm gonna start playing something on Portal. This movie's fine. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's
well,
fun.
You're just giving me Nick vibes right now. I'm not.
What?
liking it.
I know who I'm. I admit who I am. Throw away all the shows. I don't care. Just let me play games.
Really? Get rid of media.
I don't need it. Just leave it with video games. I'll be happy.
God.
That's bullshit.
Andy and I played 3 hours of Princess Peach Showtime
Yes,
today.
you did. How did that go?
I have updated thoughts after the demo. They're not too different. Very
Okay,
in line
okay.
with where I was at.
This is your first time playing. You haven't played it.
First, yeah, we started from the
Okay.
beginning, so I did have to replay the demo stuff, which I feel was, if not 100% the same, like 90-something% the same.
Okay.
And yeah, great time overall. I'm still let down that like the game's not more because I see where it can be.
You
There's
see
so
what it
much
could
about
be,
the game. There's like that this is very, very cool. I think what the game is important, and I think that the game is going to serve the audience it's intending to very, very well. I do think the $60 price point is still egregious. There's a lot of tech problems with the game that like I know aren't going to bother the little kids playing it, but they're going to bother the adults watching. And the fact that we've seen the loading screen of the curtain no less than 1,000 times today, and every single time it's this choppy mess that like it's just hard for me to
It
get
looks like
over.
it was made choppy. You
Like-
can't convince me it wasn't made choppy.
And that's weird, you know? So all those like little like nags out of the way that I just personally can't get over. The game is pretty damn cool when it wants to be, and it can be pretty damn lame when it is not
Yeah.
great, right? Like this detective thing we're seeing right now was a major bummer. Like I was having a lot of fun. There's a whole ninja level that was maybe level 3 or 4, and I was like, oh, this is substantially better than the demo. And then we played this little cowboy section, and I was like, there's cool
Riding
moments
a little
here.
horse, you're lassoing dudes, it's cute.
There's another one we just did that was you're a thief and you have this like grappling hook, and it was pretty cool. Like not as good as the ninja one, but I was like, there's fun to be had here. And then we get to the Sherlock Holmes one, and it was just like, man, like I know what I'm supposed to do is just walk around and talk to people and get clues about what I'm looking for. This is not fun. I don't see people having fun with this. It is like I want it to just be over. Right. And in my frustration of that, I was just trying to click, and I wasn't actually reading. And I'm like, I know I'm playing the game wrong here, but the game isn't fun enough for me to want to play it right. You know what I mean? So that got a lot more frustrating than I expected it to. But besides that, I would say overall, I'm more impressed than I thought that I would be. Because like I'd say we played about 10 levels, and 8 of them or so, I was like, oh, cool. They did something cool here. And I definitely want to keep playing more. I hear that it gets better as it goes on. I hear the end's awesome, which I'm not surprised. Like the Nintendo tends to do that with some of its games. They have really crazy epic ends that like make all of the other stuff kind of add up and really be the sum of all the different parts, right? To come together and just have this amazing moment and leave a good taste in your mouth. And I appreciate that about them, but I just feel like there's just a lot of little decisions here that baffle me a little bit. Like even the hub world, and granted, full disclosure, I was on stream. I rarely play games on stream. Me and Andy were talking. I was having a great time talking to everybody. So we're talking about Tic Tac and stuff. So it's like,
they responded.
Do you want some right now, by the way? I got a bunch of Tic Tacs.
I already had 3. Andy.
I'll go get you some. Thanks. You only had 3. That's 3 times the normal daily.
Doctor's recommended amount, right? But it's we all play games differently, and I like to lock in when I'm playing games. So like it's hard for me, even with a game as simple as Peach, to focus on it while also talking and stuff. But I found myself getting lost in the hub world a lot of like what level of stairs we were on as we were going up and down them. And it's just like it just seems weirdly. Like I was getting lost in places that I feel like I shouldn't have been having any type of confusion. And I wonder if it's just I'm familiar enough with games that like I know how they're supposed to work, whereas this one is kind of designed to teach people that don't know, hey, you can get lost. You like look for signs of how to understand what floor you're on or whatever. And also don't talk to your friends about Tic Tacs while you're playing video games. All of that. But the action-y parts are really cool, and I feel like there was some thrilling little segments that none of them blew my mind. I feel like I was always still waiting, no matter how cool the ninja one was, I still wanted a little bit more from it. The sword fighter one, especially like when you go back as the sword fighter and you're in like a haunted castle thing, I was like, there's a lot of creativity here that you would expect from this team, but it's like, all right, better than I thought after the demo, not as good as I thought it could be before playing it, and I put it on my fantasy, not contenders, but my fantasy draft, and I got points for it. 6 points on the board for this one.
Good.
But
I feel like it's the most fancy version of one of those little battery operated Tiger 9-in-1 games you'd get, because there's an action button and there's a jump. And that's action could mean, hey, when you're in the cowboy world, that's lasso. When you're in ninja world, that's dash. When you're in this, like, it kind of just like, found a way to make everything work around those 2 buttons. Which is brilliant, I think. Because I think that makes things certainly a lot easier for kids to kind of get a grasp of.
I think because it teaches them the timing, and it teaches them the understanding of dodging and parrying and jumping and things like that. And because every level's kind of its own genre for the most part, like I do feel like there's a lot of education value in the game that is fun. But I think that when you are more advanced than that, it can get a little bit confusing, where you want to do a dodge, but it's like the dodge is the same button as the attack and things like that.
Tim had to remap his controls.
And that was another problem,
He remapped his Switch controls.
Oh, I've done it many a time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sick of fucking hitting the wrong. I mean, X, but
and then you get the button prompts up, and then you hit the wrong. It's like, it's
the
just
button prompts aren't updating in real time. Well, not the Switches.
And there is a way to change the button prompts in the game so that it's like actually accurate. But we learned you can't, and we learned this after the stream. You can't do it in the options menu or the menu, the start menu when you're in a level. You have to do it when you're in the hub world, which why do we make these decisions? Just let the menu be the menu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if I'm realizing I need to change controls, let me change the controls when I need to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So that all those little things bother me. But those little things add up. And I feel like those are the type of polish and like the bigger decisions that like I feel just are not looked at the right way for some reason, when it's like I feel like they could have been solved fairly easily. But it's cool. I do want to keep playing it, and you bringing up the Tiger Electronics games and stuff, like I do appreciate the variety of levels. Like I think that, like I said, more often than not, I was interested in the type of gameplay.
It looks, when I look at that game, like this looks interesting.
Yeah,
it looks visually interesting.
Even it's presentationally, I think it's fantastic. They do a great job. Like everything is on a stage. It's all a stage
that's
play.
the whole
So
thing.
all the little cutouts of everything, it's just also like adorably done. And even in that little video preview that Barrett showed us, like, oh shit, she also becomes a ninja. There's not just
like a shinobi.
There's not just or whatever it said. It said Kung Fu Peach or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Which is like a different
Which I'm excited
level
to
that
play.
we haven't experienced. Yeah. So Greg,
Hi.
I know Tim said that he put that on his fantasy critic.
Yeah.
Where does that leave him right now? And also every week, can we do a fantasy critic just kind of catch up so I can remember this thing exists?
Every week might be a bridge too far. 'Cause
Okay.
There'll be lots of weeks where it doesn't move. But right now, Tim has a total of 13 points with 2 games in. Penny's Big Breakaway got him 7 points. And
It
Princess Peach got him 6 points.
I don't know if I remember the login.
Your Google.
Did I mess anything
You
up?
have an Android phone, so I'm sure
No, not
it'll
yet.
all do
I got
exactly what it is.
Tales of Kinzera. Yes. Awesome.
I mean, you got Erdtree. That'll be big.
Oh
for you.
yeah, I do. Okay, yeah.
That game's going to bomb, dude.
Oh, I got unannounced 3D Mario platformer. That is
That is
not
not looking good for you.
Yeah, I
That's
had picked
bad.
up
Mario
Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart sequel around the time that it was rumored that the Switch 2 was coming out this year, but then I finally dropped it this week after
Gave up
my
the dream.
weeks of denial.
Am I allowed to? How explain drops to me here?
So we were talking about this yesterday off camera. So I think,
Can I stop you real quick?
yeah.
Just in case you're an audio listener and don't know what we're doing, you can go to kindoffunny.com/ League 20, kindoffunny.com / KF League 2024. We are doing a thing called Fantasy Critic. It is like a fantasy basketball or football team. Basically, if you remember a few episodes ago, we all drafted games. Then we had a budget where we could bid on other games to fill out our squad. And now, of course, things are going. Every point that you get above a 70 on Open Critic gets you a point on your thing. There's some stuff about the higher points, but it doesn't matter for this. And every point below 70 would subtract points for your team. It's me, it's Barrett, it's Andy, it's Mike, it's Blessing, it's Tim, and it's Roger currently competing. Sorry, back to it, Barrett. Thank you.
So with drops, I think it's you get 1 drop for a game that is officially delayed out of the year. And then, or no.
I think you can drop
reverse
anything that officially gets delayed,
or
right?
reverse that. It's 1 drop for any game on your team, whether it's it hasn't come out yet, or if it's delayed, or if it's just like unconfirmed to like not come out this year. So that was my 1 drop, was the Mario Kart one, just because it's not like anytime soon they're going to be like, oh, it's delayed out of the year or whatever, right? And then you get 3 drops of games that get pushed out of the year.
Okay. Interesting.
Very.
I'm gonna need some new games to come out to be announced.
Yeah, you gotta get on there.
I picked up Sandland over the weekend.
I saw that. I'm actually so interested in Sandland after the SGF demo, let alone the fact there's a demo out.
I played the demo. I did not love it.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't know, man. It was a very it
was
didn't
a
have
weird
great
demo from
It
what
didn't
I
have good
understand.
direction.
Yeah.
This demo was just like wanting you to kind of, here's what this world is. Here's maybe this vertical slice of what you'll be experiencing, but
Yeah.
it felt so lackluster to me.
Interesting. When I played at SGF,
Art
which
style
was a
was
short
phenomenal,
demo,
though.
yeah, I enjoyed myself. I was looking forward to it.
Art style
I
looked
picked up
awesome.
Crypt Master. That's my most recent get over there.
Master.
This is one that
Unfamiliar.
won the Independent Game Festival Award for Excellence in Design last week at GDC. If you were to Google and get the trailer up, I think you might remember it. It's the one where you're like picking words and putting them in there and doing them. I think it's gonna do well.
Is there an award for this fantasy critically for like person who logs in the least?
No.
That would be a competition, though.
Well, because person with most points that logs in the least. Because I think I'm in first place.
You kind of like set it and forget it.
Yeah,
Got
I think
it.
I'm in first place when it comes to
Right now, of course, Andy Cortez has 51 points. He has 20 from Tekken 8, 11 from Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, 12 from Under Night, In Birth 2, Sizz Souls, and then 9 from MLB The Show 24.
Come on, MLB The Show. You got to get that's a guaranteed 15 points every year. What are you doing,
No, it's
MLB
not.
The Show?
The last couple of years, no, it's not.
Damn.
Currently, with
Damn.
four games on the board, I'm in first place with 66 points. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got me 26. Like a
Dang.
Dragon Infinite Wealth got me 20. Banisher's Ghost of New Eden got me 10. WWE 2K24 got me 11.
And that's bullshit because
Bullshit.
I didn't know I could do Like a Dragon. Was I listening to the rules, Tim? Not
No, you
completely,
weren't
but I was
at all.
like, nobody's picking it here. That's kind of weird. I wonder if we came to an agreement before this thing started.
Barrett, of course, is in second place right now. He has Persona 3 Reload, got him 18 points. Unicorn Overlord got him 18 points. Balatro got him 24 points. But but then he counterpicked Penny's big breakaway. That lost him 7 points.
Honestly, looking at the rest of the games I could have counterpicked, Penny's was probably the
Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it was either that or Princess Peach Showtime, which
But
I
if
don't
you
even
wanna-
think you drafted in the initial draft.
Yeah.
So
I had to get it later.
If you want to talk about just the biggest loser so far, it's Roger Picorni, who's tripping on his way out here, of course. No games that he picked have come out, but he did counterpick Dragon's Dogma 2, meaning he has negative 18 points on the board right
Holy
now.
fuck.
you know,
it's
start the season.
It's a long game, you know what I mean? Like, it's a long game. I have a lot of games right here. You know, Homeworld 3 is there's a lot of advertising.
I love it. I love it.
Locomotive, big budget. Deck of Police, a game when I Googled JRPGs 2024. You know what I mean? We got a lot of good games coming up. And Dragon's Dogma 2, who would have thought that game would have been good? You know what I mean? Who knows?
No, we saw
Hellblade
it coming.
2, though. I feel like that'll get some good points on the board.
To think
Dawn
of,
Trail as well.
to think of how we were making fun of Snowbike Mike for on the show looking at his screen saying, what did he say? Hello Games 2024.
Remember also when he tried to give you shit for
Does everything.
when Tim drafted Shadow of the Erdtree and then he looked at you, he's like, "Oh, there's no way you were going to get that." And then it came
That
to
was never
him.
falling to you.
Yeah.
That, you're last play. You're the last one. That's never falling to you. I'm going with Andy's. Man, it's do we even get Silk Song this year? Which is one of his picks.
Yeah.
That was his first pick.
Can we go to mine? I want to look at it one more time, see if how I'm feeling. Because all right, I got Elden Ring, which I feel great about. Mario, got to move that. Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater.
I am not feeling great about
You
it.
know what?
chance.
I'm feeling like it's happening. It's gonna happen this year, everybody. Penny's big breakaway. Oh, whatever. Points on the board. Indie. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Animal Well, people like it.
Animal
I
Well,
just
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
if it's coming this year. That's my only thing. I feel like we've seen this demo a lot. You know what I mean?
Did they not just put a date on it?
Did they? Did I miss
They were
that?
I
on-
thought they did.
They were on
I
the,
wasn't on the
yeah.
segment while they were here.
They were on it with us. I'm pretty sure they gave it
May 9th.
Okay, well, hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's very good news for me. Peach, cool. Silent Hill 2. All right. I'm holding on to, I don't know. Tails, I'm feeling great about. Star Wars Outlaws as a counter pick. Doesn't seem like a good call past him, but I'm not sure. There must have
think
been
I
a
talked you
strategy.
into that. I
Must have been a
talked-
strategy, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was because it was slim pickings. You and I were the last two
Got
to
it.
do counter picks, and
So
I
I'm just
think I
hoping it
talked
doesn't
you
come
into
out.
it because I also was. I personally wasn't wowed by Star Wars Outlaws.
Well, we'll have to stay tuned and see how things go in this
sure
fantasy
will.
league. Is this
One
real life
quarter
or is this
down.
fantasy? Let us know in the comments below what your fantasy league is looking like and what you think of ours and who you think is actually going to win at the end of the day.
Ooh, Hyperlight Breakers coming
Roger,
out soon,
probably.
man.
Yeah,
We're gonna
Roger
get
ain't
that
coming
Hyperlight
back from
Breakers.
that.
we'll see, man. He does have those games. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.